Hello everyone, welcome back to a new post today, and I hope you all are doing wonderfully well. So today let's have a review of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia. He has been on a trip to Hiroshima in Japan for the G7 summit, and just in the previous post I told you the 10 most important points for action which he gave at the G7 summit was spelled out. And apart from that, he attended also the third in-person Quad summit in Hiroshima, and now then he came back to the Pacific Islands for the Forum for Indo-Pacific Cooperation meeting, and he was given two highest civilian awards by the Papua New Guinea government, and apart from that even the Fiji government as well. And a lot in store in the future with India and the Pacific Island country nations. So now he has been on Sydney and he has ended his trip. So let's have a quick review of what happened actually in Australia and how important Australia is with regard to Indo-Australian relations or Indian foreign policy as well. So let me tell you that Australia and India are age-old friends. So we have common history. We were the colonies of the British, and we are also part of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, and apart from that various other international organizations as well. So let me tell you that Australia is a part of India's extended neighborhood, and both are very strong, vibrant, secular, multicultural and strong democracies. So they both have independent judicial system, and we have borrowed many features from the Australian Constitution as well, and included them in the Indian Constitution, some of them being the concurrent list and also the interstate trade and commerce within the states. English language binds us together, and it is a common link. Apart from that, the soft power of cricket, and now recently we have also signed the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, and we have also a migrant and mobility agreement we also recognize mutually each other's degrees as well, which is going to be helpful for many Indian students who are going to study and work there, and also for their professional background. So these are some of the brief significant elements of the relationship. Otherwise, their ties date back to the 18th century. India played a major role in nourishing this young colony of Australia, and also improved the trade ties with Australia at that time itself, and also came to become an important link in the operations of the East India Company in Bengal. Now for the next half century after the 18th century, Australia's most immediate and direct links were with India mostly, and not London or Britain. So many bureaucrats, merchants, chaplains, judges moved between the two colonies, and many Indians made their home in Australia as well. At the beginning of the 19th century, several British colonial families from India made life for themselves in this new Australian colonies, and so we have ties dating back to the British era as well. We have a consulate general in Sydney, which was opened for the very first time as a trade office in 1941 before the independence itself, and the High Commission in Canberra was also opened before independence in 1945 in Canberra. So the Consulate General of India in Melbourne was opened in the modern era in 2006, and the Consulate General of India in Perth was inaugurated in 2011. And during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, he said that we would have a consulate in Brisbane very soon. So India and Australia cooperate on various multilateral fora as well. Australia supports India's candidature to the United Nations Security Council as a permanent member on a strong basis, and has been vocal about this. Both India and Australia are members, as I told you, of the Commonwealth Heads of Governments meet. Apart from that, G20 Commonwealth, Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, the ASEAN Regional Forum, the Asia Pacific Partnership on Climate and Clean Development, and have also participated in the East Asia Summit. Now both of these countries have been cooperating together as the 5 interested parties to the WTO context, and Australia is an important player in the APEC as well, and supports India's membership to the organization. In 2008, Australia became an observer to the SAARC, and both the countries are now members and strong partners in the Quad, which focuses on Indo-Pacific region. So let's go to the visit now. When Prime Minister was in Sydney, he was given a very grand welcome by the Indian diaspora there at the Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney. Prime Minister also spoke very deeply about the Indian-Australian ties. He said that the relationship between India and Australia was described by various acronyms that can describe the deepness of the relationship between the two countries. He said the 3 C's describe India-Australian relations. That's the Commonwealth, curry and cricket, and 3 Ds, that's diaspora, democracy and dosti, and also the 3 E's E for elephant. So E is that's economy, energy and education. So already we have an economic cooperation and trade agreement. With the economic and energy, we also are cooperating with each other on green hydrogen. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that these acronyms worked in different periods of times, but mostly the Indian-Australian relationship is far greater and based on mutual respect and mutual trust. This is what he said. He also added that mutual respect and mutual trust is just not because of diplomatic ties between India and Australia, but because of the huge diaspora of India that is there in the country. Modi also said that the distance between the two countries is significant and more, but it is what the Indian Ocean that binds India and Australia. He used cricket diplomacy to explain the deepening of ties between India and Australia and said that our ties between India and Australia have entered the T20 mode. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has invited Anthony Albanese and also the various Australian cricket fans to India for the next Cricket World Cup this year. The upcoming 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup, which will be hosted by India for the very first time in its entirety, is likely to be started in October 6th and will end in November 19th. The final schedule will be held at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, which is the world's largest cricket stadium. And Prime Minister Modi and Anthony Albanese also unveiled the Little India, which is a place in the Harris Park in a suburb in Australia, dedicated mostly to the Indians who reside there. Now, to deepen the economic cooperation and deepen the new avenues of relationship, last year India and Australia got into an economic cooperation and trade agreement which came into effect, and now they want to go a step ahead and change this agreement into a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. Further reinforcing the economic and the people-to-people ties between the two countries, the leaders announced a finalization of India-Australia migration and mobility partnership arrangement, which will promote two-way mobility of students and graduates and academic research business people, and will also enhance the cooperation, which will prevent irregular migration and people smuggling as well. So this migration and mobility agreement mainly focuses on this. The Prime Minister also welcomed the progress towards establishing the Australia-India Green Hydrogen Task Force and announced that the terms of reference of this task force has been agreed. So that's a step ahead for cooperation in energy, and that is about green hydrogen. So we already have a national green hydrogen mission, and India is already working to become a leader in hydrogen, in energy through hydrogen as well. India is looking forward for greater Australian investment in India. Now, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Foreign Minister Penny Wong also inaugurated the new Centre of Australia-India Relations, which will be inaugurated in Parramatta. The centre will begin operations this month, and this will only lead to deeper engagement with India through business, policy, cultural activities and work with Indian communities there. The two leaders also welcomed the City of Perth and Western Australian government's decision to rename a road along the Perth Swans River in recognition of Private Nain Singh Sailani. He is one of the 12 Indians of the Indian community who fought in the Australian Imperial Force during the First World War. And now this is about the brief review of India, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Sydney. The visit has only strengthened the close and the strong relationship that has bloomed after the economic cooperation and trade agreement which Australia enjoys with India. And as I told you, that Australia is being seen as an extended neighborhood. Though the distance is significant, we are bound and we are tied up by the Indian Ocean, and we are also now extending that deepness to the Indo-Pacific region through the Quad. I hope this information was really helpful to you all, but if you did do like, share, subscribe and comment. Please don't forget to comment also, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.